All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here talking about real music in real time for a couple of real people out there just like you and just like me. All right, I'm going to be talking about this album a little bit during this video. So that's Ches Kane, by the way. Um, I want to say this. The biggest story of this year, if you're a fan of rock music, apparently was Dolly Parton recording a rock album, even though Dolly Parton is not a rock star, despite the name of the album. I know a lot of people disagree with me on Dolly. They just thought the halftime show at the Dallas Cowboys football game, what was it, on Thanksgiving? That was amazing. She rocked it, 77-year-old in the cheerleader outfit. There's nothing wrong with that. Dolly Parton has the body of a 50-year-old. Okay, all of that is fine, I guess, to a point. But, the future of rock music in general is not Dolly Parton. I'm sorry. I'm reading this other article. Dolly Parton received a warning about singing Stairway to Heaven. It's just a song you shouldn't touch. And she went on to say, yeah, it's a song I shouldn't have done, but I did it anyway. And she says here, my husband is a huge fan of Led Zeppelin and thinks Stairway to Heaven is one of the classic songs of all time. So he was kind of concerned about me doing it. See, he had the right instincts. He said, I don't know if you need to mess with that because I think you'll get a lot of criticism. You know what's weird is she hasn't gotten a lot of criticism. We're living in this new world where everything is great. Oh, Dolly Parton singing a Queen song? That makes total sense. That's fantastic, And this is the name ID. We'll replace this guy with another guy who's got another name. I'm thinking like Vince Gill, for instance, in the Eagles. And everybody will flock to see the Eagles because, we've got more names on the marquee. And in the case of Dolly Parton, it's like, hey, this is cool. She was put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Dolly Parton is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Steppenwolf is not. One of the most influential bands, Canadian-American band, I guess more Canadian than American, I don't know. But a band, Born to Be Wild, the band that did Born to Be Wild, they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But Dolly Parton, who sang 9 to 5 and Jolene, she's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Why is she in there? Because they obviously wanted more female artists to be in the Hall of Fame. This is, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And Dolly Parton checks all the boxes. Plus, Dolly Parton doesn't offend anyone. She is somewhat apolitical, even though she has a new song, which sounds like it might be targeting the people up in Washington, D.C. It's not, what is it, rich men north of Richmond? It's not that, but it certainly is making a point about how crazy things are and how the politicians are making it worse and who's in power right now. I mean, 2 + 2 is what, 5? So anyway, getting back to this whole rock star thing and how this was like the biggest event of the year. People are still talking about her album, which sold incredibly for a physical product and through downloads. People were buying this. They're going to Cracker Barrel or whatever, and they're seeing it. Oh, we got to get Dolly's rock album so I can listen to her doing Let It Be. Or, I just don't get it. And then you've got super young, talented Ches Kane here. I'm just using this as an example. She's put out a couple of albums. This is real melodic rock in the style of like Alita Ford or Vixen or Pat Benatar or 80s heart music. This is a continuation of the good stuff. I don't know how many albums Ches Kane has sold, and you won't see her album, as you walk into Cracker Barrel. But but we're going to have the 77-year-old country star be the poster girl for rock and roll in the year 2023. That's really sad. It's sad. And look, I know a lot of people disagree with me, and I get that. Dolly Parton is a nice person. I've said this over and over. People talk about how when I get out of my lane, I should, go back, stay in your lane, dude. Dolly Parton really needs to stay in her lane. All right. She's a great country singer. Yes, she crossed over into the pop world back in 1980 and probably a number of times prior to that because the world was a different place. You could mix these genres and people weren't upset about it. There wasn't the kind of music segregation that there is now, which is kind of weird because we don't like the word segregation, right? But it seems as though we're all going into our little tribes and we're listening to the kind of music we like, whereas in the 70s and into the early 80s anyway, probably back in the 60s too, you had plenty of things which just crossed over because they were good songs. People weren't worried about what genre it was. If it was Johnny Cash and it was a pop hit, then it was a pop hit. Nobody sat there and lamented the fact that Johnny had crossed over. But look, Dolly Parton's not getting played on rock stations. This album, by the way, was heralded by all of the classic rock stations, the iHeart Radio Network, all of these conglomerates that put out news in just generic ways. And you get this in your inbox and it's like, hey, Dolly Parton has a rock album. Everybody's talking about it. No, you guys are talking about it, which means everybody is seeing it, which again is kind of like a form of propaganda. I'm sorry, it just is. And again, because she's a decent person and, it's pretty amazing the way she looks at 77 years old. I think there's been a little bit of work done there, just maybe not. Some people argue back with me. I'm pretty sure she said she had work done a number of years ago. And if you've got that much money, well, I don't begrudge anyone if they want to get stuff nipped or tucked or fixed. Go for it. She's Dolly Parton. She's got a lot of money, right? Dollywood. And, again, because she's a decent, if she was really a malcontent, then I don't even think we'd be having this conversation. I think she gets away with this because she's a likable character. And as far as, pushing the rock agenda forward into the future, I mean, we're going into 2024. Rock is no better than it was in, say, 2017 or 2012. I think, if anything, it's gotten worse and worse and is fading away. And then you've got these older bands that are still trying to roam like old dinosaurs out there, and they're canceling tours. I'm thinking of Aerosmith, for instance. There are a lot of bands that are literally on their last leg. And maybe AI will save them. Maybe that will be the future where people get duped into thinking it's the real thing and it's not. And you've got people, by the way, who are in the business who say, well, we've been using technology like this since the 1980s. You've been doing some backing vocals and backing drums. You haven't been doing, lead vocal tracks or some of the other more obvious things that are happening right now because singers are aging and they can't sing their own catalogs. That's what's happening now. And of course, you've got Kiss out there promoting, Kiss Avatar World. So rock and roll is in tough shape. I mean, I just want guys like Ace Frehley says, I just want to plug my guitar in and start playing and sing right into the microphone. That's what I want to do. And even if that doesn't sound good, I have more respect for something like that than this artificial, we fooled you, but it was a great show, so that makes it okay. And that ties right back into Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton did a karaoke album of classic rock songs and some original songs. Now, I'm hoping that maybe somebody will play her original songs, but nobody's going to do that. See, this is really about just marketing directly, direct marketing to the masses, because there is really no radio support system for classic rock the way Dolly is doing it. Who's going to play that on the radio? And there's no support system for somebody like this very talented lady here. None. You know, I can tell people about this and say, hey, you should check out Chez Kane. And they're going to say, well, you know, I'm just going to go back and listen to Pat Benatar. I've got the greatest hits album. That works for me. And that's what you're up against. I mean, the next generation, they're not going to know anything about even the old stuff as that starts to fade away. I mean, I don't see anything, you know, on the horizon that would change this. I think the technology makes it even worse, because rock and roll at its core was very organic. It didn't sound, you know, plastic. It got a little plastic in the 80s, but those were all real instruments that were plugged in. Those weren't computers running the show. There was some looping and some technology. Yeah, I'm not saying it was all computer free, but now we're having computers doing the composing and the arranging, and soon people just we're not going to know if anything is actually by that person who's putting it out there, or is this just a random program that the computer thought that you would like when you heard it. You know, this is what's coming, or what's already here. So I know I strayed off the Dolly Parton topic to some degree. The only reason I did that is because, you know, there are a number of different things going on right now in the music world that just doesn't make me feel all warm and fuzzy. And so this is why next year I have decided I'm going to continue promoting new melodic music. I'm going to have a top 20 for this year. Not that I'm doing anything great, and people won't watch those videos. They'd rather hear about gossip and about who did what to who and why. And yeah, that's interesting. But in the end, this is supposed to be more about music than, you know, just what's happening to these people, which, again, I'm not saying I won't be covering that, because, you know, I need people to watch the videos. So I'm up against that, and it puts me between a rock and a hard place. But I will continue to mix the salacious details about things that are going on, and also providing you, you know, just some tips here. Check out Chez Kane. She's cool. I've had her on the show a couple of times. Every time she comes out with an album, she's nice enough to do an interview. And we learned that she loves the good stuff, right? That's what's cool about Chez. And you can check out her other album. She's got 2 albums out there, courtesy of Frontiers Music, and they're both excellent. If you like the music of, again, Vixen or Lita Ford, Pat Benatar, it's all right there. She's got the talent, and people just need to hear it. All right, so that's it. Dolly Parton, the biggest story in the rock world in 2023, and it's annoying. I'm just saying it. It's just really annoying. Yeah, the Stones came out with an album, but people are still talking about Dolly Parton.